What's up, everybody? It is Matt with the Federalist Plus. We are coming at you, and man, do we have a show for you today? We're experiencing a little technical difficulties this morning, getting things up and running, rocking and rolling. But we're going to get those hammered out, and then we'll get it started. What's up, Hussein? How are you, bud?
What's going on, buddy?
Another day, man. Another day.
This camera's annoying me right now. All right. Yeah. What's going on, buddy? You there, Matt?
Okay, I guess we're back. Dealing with some crazy some technical difficulties today, guy. And we're gonna get right into it because we have, like I said, we've got a lot to talk about today. There's some interesting things going on in the world of politics in North Carolina and everywhere else. So,
can you hear me?
Yeah, we're back, man. Yeah,
it's gonna be one of those live streams.
One of those lives, man.
Oh, all right.
So,
how are you doing this glorious evening, buddy? How you doing, man?
Dude, doing good, man. Another day in the kingdom, 6 feet above ground, and can't complain, dude.
Yep.
Cannot complain. Did you have a good holiday?
Yeah, man. Christmas was awesome. Can't complain whatsoever. Yeah. I spent time with the family. It was awesome.
Dude, doing good, man. Another day in the good.
Yeah, New Year's I just stayed home, just chilled. So yeah, pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Good to hear. I did as well. Had a great Christmas and New Year's. No complaints. It's just, we live in such a great country, man, that we can just relax, kick back and relax, man. Sort of.
Let's just say we're lucky that we can still sit back and relax. I wouldn't go as far as say we live in such a great country. That's a bit of a stretch, but we're lucky.
I don't think so. I think we really do live in a great country. We have a bunch of idiots in this country who like to try to ruin it, but America.
I think how this is compromise. There's still good parts of it. I think that's a better way of saying it. There's still good parts of the country. Yeah, I think that's the best way I would describe it. There's still good parts of it because I unfortunately, I just would say currently right now, as it stands collectively, no, I wouldn't call this a great country at all. But there are parts of the country that are still great, and hopefully, maybe we can restore the entirety of the country being at least decent before even great. But yeah, so I hear what you're saying, but yeah, I get it. It's we're lucky to have family and friends and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Yeah, man. What's up?
Yeah, no, I mean I've got a couple show notes we can roll through real quick.
Sure.
Some updates. So let's see. Soros is going to spend another $131 million to subvert us. That's lovely. U.S. manufacturing has fallen again in America, which is just, that is completely the opposite of where we need to be. American manufacturing needs to be the first choice for everything.
Yeah.
Twitter is going to allow political ads again in a big way, so that's pretty cool. And the feds are going to raise the rates again. So we're not, if anybody out there thought we were out of our little not a recession, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
But the big notes for today is kind of, there's a couple of things, but let's get into the first one, which is the Speaker of the House stuff, man.
Yeah. So Yeah, you can start that off.
Yeah, so I mean, this has been very interesting to kind of watch, and I can't say that I've watched it intently, probably as much as I should have been able to prepare for this live stream and talk really intricately about it. But even watching it from the bench has been exciting because we're seeing a lot of just the swamp, man. You know, just the corruption, and we're seeing we're. I will say that there's some transparency around this process that I found very interesting. One of them has been, uh, exposing more of who we thought were conservatives, like Dan Crenshaw, and the things that he's saying about people who are voting against McCarthy, and anybody, broad generalization stroke here. If anybody out in our world thought that McCarthy wasn't going to be a good Speaker of the House, Crenshaw has said that you're a terrorist. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's not to say that we don't have very strong words for things in our universe, but that's just interesting. One of the most interesting notes about it, and then getting into how people are voting. Matt Gaetz voted for Trump. He said on the floor that he called out Trump's name when he was asked. And some of the, I guess there's a lot of controversy around MPG with this. So I don't know, man. This is the Speaker of the House is a really important job and position, and I think that no matter what ends up happening out of this, we're still going to get a swamp creature.
Yeah, yeah. So my take on the whole thing is that it's great. It's disruption, which is what needs to happen. It's needed disruption. I think all of it's great to watch, because once again, it's not even really about the outcome. It's about sending a message. It's not about actually getting a speaker. It's not about whether or not the speaker's going to work. It's about sending a message. And I mean, that's really what it comes down to. What it comes down to is that, as you and I both said before, and I've probably said it a lot more frequently, is the entire system is it's messed up, man. And the entire system is not fit for purpose. So we need to start thinking in those terms. And when it comes to Crenshaw, I don't really think I know anyone except for people who literally work for the Republican Party. Like honestly, I think the only people that I know who have ever support Crenshaw, or rather who still support Crenshaw to this point, I think the only ones I can think of are people who actually literally work for the Republican Party, or like have some sort of like leadership in like local or federal party or national party leadership. But can't think of any sort of like voter or even like activistic kind of coalition leadership or groups that support Crenshaw. Crenshaw is, they call him like Eye Patch McCain, right? I mean, Crenshaw showed his colors months ago, I guess years ago at this point, right? He, his views on staying in Afghanistan, his views on warmongering with Ukraine via Russia, or rather warmongering with Russia via Ukraine. His view, we'll say, being condescending towards constituents in the form of things like, downplaying the importance of Christ as a self-proclaimed Christian to a young Christian girl, like things like this, things of this nature. Or I mean, this dude, if you're a conservative of any stripe, I'm surprised if you're still thinking that Crenshaw's your guy. But yeah, I mean, to me, it just kind of revalidated or underscored why people like Crenshaw are terrible. NPG is a very good lesson for a lot of people to learn, because she was someone that a lot of people, myself included, really tried to get behind at one point. And to be frank, we all knew that she wasn't experienced. We all knew that she was sort of kind of all over the place. And some of us heard rumors about her indiscretions, which people like to pretend like that doesn't matter, but she ran on, she's running on a Christian sort of like a Christian conservative platform. She even referred herself as a Christian nationalist. So like when you're calling yourself a Christian nationalist and you have those sorts of indiscretions, marital indiscretions, it does matter. Like it absolutely does matter. Trump never ran on a moralistic platform. He was an economic populist, right? But she ran on a, American First Christian nationalist platform. She kind of preached that kind of like that sort of like that sort of set an ethos. So when that comes out about her, you're just like, well, okay, well you're terrible in multiple ways, you know. And then also the fact that she's just betrayed her base, she's betrayed people that have supported her. You know, in particular, people like Laura Loomer, people like Nicholas J. Fuentes. These people were in, you know, were on Team Marjorie Taylor Greene before it was cool to be on Team Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, you know, it's a good learning lesson for a lot of people, I guess, who are still believing that the political system as it currently stands is viable. But yeah, I couldn't be happier. I think it's great, and I think it's sending shockwaves to the GOP. I do believe, and I got a text message from an associate here locally. I'm pretty sure Dan Bishop actually voted against Kevin McCarthy. I believe it was Dan Bishop who voted against Kevin McCarthy here locally. So that's awesome. I'm actually going to say I've seen a lot of impressive moves coming out of various people, various members of the North Carolina Republican Party leadership, kind of like broadly speaking, like Ted Budd voting against the gay marriage stuff, and then Dan Bishop voting against, you know, the Kevin McCarthy stuff. So I'm seeing some good stuff coming out of NC with our people. So there's hope, man. I'm pretty white-pilled about it. Obviously, you know, doesn't mean that everything is like magically fixed, but to me, it's a good symbol. It's a good symbol for people are sick of it. People are sick of this nonsense. They're sick of business as usual. So I couldn't be happier seeing it, man.
What do you think the positives are out of this experience?
Well, they're just basically what I just laid out. So I mean, essentially, it shows, you know, it exposes people to the truth of certain actors that maybe some people may have or still to this point may have in the past or still to this point are supporting as Bible, you know, figureheads for the right. It shows people that you can disrupt the system, and it makes the establishment. It puts them in a corner, grabs them by the proverbial balls to a certain degree. You know, obviously this is not the end of it, but it just, you know, any form of protest, any form of disruption on this sort of level is necessary, and it's not just like meaningless disruption where it's just like people just going to, I don't know, a state convention and, you know, crowding up the Q&A. This is like literally people disrupting one of the most important processes for the Republican Party to do, which is the speakership. So this shows the establishment like, hey, there are people that are just like, we're not doing this anymore. And to the point with Trump, you know, I've probably come out that I'm no longer endorsing Trump for anything regarding like a presidency or any sort of national leadership. Maybe a speakership might be good for Trump, but as of right now, I don't think that even Trump is worth supporting. I think he did some great stuff, and God bless him for that. But as it currently stands, I mean, this man to this point, as far as I know, I think he did one Telegram post that was sort of kind of critical of Kevin McCarthy. But this man was like, you know, he was campaigning for Kevin McCarthy all through this, right? He was sitting there telling people you need to vote for Kevin McCarthy, take the victory. You know, even though Kevin McCarthy literally did things that undermined the Trump agenda and undermined Trump himself. So Trump has lost whatever Trump had in 2015. He lost it. He needs to find it at some point. But you know, as it currently stands, he's not fit for purpose for a political leader. So I just, like I said, I think this is really good. It forces the constituency. It forces the electorate. It forces people in the Republican Party to start to really, you know, those who are not in control, those who are just, you know, voting members, lower, I guess, leadership, whatever. It forces us to, you know, take a look at ourselves and see what we can and cannot do. And like I said, I'm pretty happy about it. So it's all white pills, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's definitely, you know, I see a couple of positives out of this. You know, there's a lot of deals being cut over this. Like this entire process really comes down to who's the guy that we could cut the most deals over, and everybody can get what they, you know, the most out of this situation. And you know, if McCarthy ends up being the speaker, which I don't know if he will or won't, but you know, there's some deals being cut about political expenditures in for constituents that are incumbents. Or I'm sorry, for constituents that have an incumbent. So that could open up a sliver of hope for us to where we could get new Christian conservative candidates in, or at least run against incumbents who aren't going to have the piggy bank of some of these bigger PACs. And that's exciting because money is, the Democrats specifically and the Republicans are starting to really understand this game. It's a numbers game with money, man. The more money you throw at stuff, the easier it is for you to win, no matter who your candidate is. Even if they're, even if they are the swamp creature or they haven't necessarily done the right thing for this country. So I think it'll be interesting to see the list of the deals that are public that we can at least hear about or know about and figure out how to utilize them best for North Carolina. Because ultimately, and you and I are both on this same track, like the stuff, we've got it up on the screen right now. The stuff that's going on at the federal level, it does affect us, but I couldn't care really about it as much as I care about what's going on in this state. It's important because it obviously affects the broader political spectrum. But how, my frame of mind is, how do we harness whatever's going on at the federal level to positively impact North Carolina? And, we went over a couple of things earlier in the show notes that are available on the website where, we need to figure this out. We need to figure out how to get Soros money out of North Carolina. We need to figure out how to get U.S. manufacturing in North Carolina and revive the manufacturing that we had here in a big way. We're number 4 for, we were like number 4 for furniture manufacturing in the world. We're like number 6 for agriculture. Like, those are rookie numbers. We got to bump those numbers up. We need to be number 1 in tech. We need to be number 1 in agriculture. We need to be number 1 in direct manufacturing, whether that's for furniture or for car manufacturing. These things we need to be the best at. We can't. And obviously we don't need to do that in a way that subverts our state by giving, Amazon free passes if they're going to come in and spend money to subvert us. But I know that this state has the capability of being the best in so many metrics that we're currently not. And that's how we have to tie all this together.
Yeah. I hate when you swallow things down the windpipe. So you're just chilling there, and all of a sudden you just swallow the wrong windpipe, and you're just like, you're dying. But
dude, it sucks. Those kind of reactives, man.
It's still annoying. It comes out of nowhere. But yeah, no. Like, to your point about the localism sort of discussion. I mean, what happens on the federal level absolutely does matter. But at the end of the day, there's not much we can do right now. So it's it's a two-pronged solution of looking at the federal, looking at the national, and trying to apply to the local. Or
at least having it benefit the local, or finding ways to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in terms of getting the money out of, in terms of getting globalist money out of North Carolina, that's not going to happen without the federal, unfortunately. Whether we like to admit that or not, the federal is necessary, but we're just not there yet. So what it really what local the localist sort of thing that should be happening right now is just rhetoric and conversational. Because I know this personally. Whether and there are some people who are doing things a little bit, like I said, Ted Budd, for example, Dan Bishop, I believe it's Dan Bishop. They are doing things that are heterodox to the kind of national GOP RNC agenda, which is cool. But they're only 2 guys, right? And I know the party, unfortunately, very well, and the party is dictated by the national. So if the national is the way it is, the party will still be affected by it. But with that said, I think the first thing really starts with having these conversations and spreading this rhetoric around sort of the right-wing sphere of North Carolina, getting people on board with rejecting this nonsense, which is a lot easier said than done. But all things that are worth doing are. So I think that's the big thing too, is just kind of having the conversation, get the conversation out there. And once again, like I said, doing things because the people who are pushing back against McCarthy are actually doing it with a particular electorate. They're not looking for a particular speakership in mind. They're not doing it with a particular political end in mind, which I think is really important. And that's what I like about this. It's not being done for a particular, like, we're going to do this because we're going to get this. It's literally a protest saying, like, we're just done. So, like, basically anyone but Kevin McCarthy, like, they're really just saying anyone but this guy. And it's exposing the fact that the establishment really wants this guy. And it raises the question, why this guy?
Why?
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's the only question, really. Why?
Yeah.
Right?
And we know why.
It's a good point to keep in mind. So we got a text from a viewer who wanted us to point out something, which I think is pretty timely. So thanks to DB for sending this over. So there was an article or something, or maybe a wiki update that came out speaking about this particular process of electing the new Speaker of the House, and I'm going to read the quote.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, "We can't call it the longest House Speaker contest in 100 years anymore. Now that we're through 9 ballots, tying the 1923 process, it is the longest contest in 164 years, since the Congress during which states began seceding from the Union to kick off the Civil War," end quote. And I think that's pretty interesting, timing and correlation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's I totally agree with that. So, it's freaking awesome, man. It's freaking awesome.
And to your point, if we're looking at the historical context of this and the bigger picture, and we're looking at cycles, we already have balkanization occurring in this country, whether it's political or theological, or even geographical. It's occurring, and it might not be the normal Civil War type of historical normalcy, which is, well, this state's going to leave, this state's going to leave. We have people exiting our union all the time as a personal choice, right? Yeah. Like we have the, on one spectrum, we have the sovereign citizen movement. And then on the other, we have...
No, I don't even want to talk about that.
we have people... we have states actually threatening to do this. Texas has threatened it.
I have to interrupt you for the reason why I'm saying I'm making a bit of a joke because I have PTSD from a Twitter space with a sovereign citizen individual who just came in through. Sovereign citizen.
We need to do a live just on that, because I think that there is a ton of stuff there that we have to clear up.
There is. Well, it's funny, yeah. Because there was one guy who kind of came into a Twitter space doing the sovereign citizen LARP, and then after that space was said and done, another gentleman who's like associated with like the broader kind of network that I'm in, he actually tried to like rationalize like the actual legitimate conversation. So it's a legitimate conversation to be had. I mean, like,
totally. Dude, I've been looking into this for months now, right? I've been pulling stuff from people who are actually going through the process, people who've even got their status changed and have new passports.
Yeah,
so I've been doing a pretty deep dive investigation on it to try to write an article for the Federalist Press. And dude, it's I've gotten to, without getting too far into this, because this
I don't want to do that right now.
Right? I've gotten to the point where everything's legitimate up until the point where you lose your rights to vote federally. And there's a way to reinstate it, but nobody knows. I haven't seen any evidence for that way. So right now in my mind, it looks like a subversion, and it looks like it's being something that's been hijacked against.
Well, here's my thing. I don't even think it's a subversion. I think it's a legitimate course of action. Okay. I think that it's real. Like the things that people are saying about we're not real. But I think it's like a lot of other sort of, we'll say, quasi decentralized libertarian things, which is a lot of this stuff just kind of comes up as cope for people being too afraid to ascend to power and wield power like efficiently. Like, and this is really what it comes down to, because it's the reason why I address localism as the necessary tool right now. But my end game is not localism. My end game is a mass ascension for people of a particular theological and philosophical bent to ascend to federal power and wield power and impose that upon the country. That's what I want. Like, and I'm not shy about that. And this is the reason why conservatives lose, right? This is the reason why people on the so-called right or center right, however you want to qualify our side of the conversation, broadly speaking, This is why we lose, because we have this sort of philosophical framework that previous generations laid down for us, that nobility and sort of like be you know, righteousness is sought out through this decentralization, or a unwillingness to wield power, first of all against your political enemies, number one, and just to rectify the ills of your society. This has never been the case. You know, this has never been the case. Like, every society that is competent has imposed its will upon its population and has tried to guide its population in a particular direction to have a particular civilization of which to exist in. So I think that's another reason why those sort of conversations annoy me, because, like, yeah, but first of all, you know, I'm all for people being able to investigate various means of like economic and political sovereignty and freedom and flourishment and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, if we want to get our country back, we have to literally physically take our country back, and we have to rule our country. It's not gonna, like, we need to abandon, and Generation Z really gets this, which is why I have a lot of hope for these guys. They understand this will to power. They understand it completely. And it's like, that is the future. Like, that is what we need to do. We need to have will to power. And Generation X and millennials need to kind of like, we need to transcend our fear of power and transcend sort of the preconditioned libertarian, sort of decentralized and minarchical talking points, because they don't work. And we need to lean into the reality that if we want a country, we need to get that country, and we need to create that country. And that's literally it. It's super simple. And it needs to be guided by Christ. It needs to be guided by moralism that is informed by Christ. And so
Speaking of taking back power, we have a solution for North Carolina, at least. Trainingconservatives.org. That is our Christian conservative training platform, which is the Carolina Conservative Training Committee. And that is our training grounds, right? The TFP is where we share our message. The CCTC is where you actually get trained. So if you're listening to this and you are looking to get in as an activist, as a community organizer, or you actually run for office here in North Carolina, go check us out, trainingconservatives.org. It's in the link below. This is where it's going to happen. And this program has been custom designed to help Christian conservatives get into these positions of power like Hussein's talking about. And it's important because the things that Hussein's talking about, we're never going to get to the federal level if we don't capture our local level. And that's where this all integrates, right? How do you start? And this is even biblical. You know, God says, get yourself straight first before you go and get your wife or your family, and then your community. You can't influence all these other places unless you're straight first. This is how we get straight first. You come to the CCTC, we help you learn the methodologies and how to play in the game without being a part of the game. And that's the difference between what we're doing and what the broken system has been doing, because me and Hussein both come from the background of Republican Party politics, and we both have our goods and our bads and the things that we want to change. Well, this is it. This is part of the change that we're looking to seek. We want to be a part of that. We want to help train other people get to that level. So when they go and run, they can get into that ring and go toe to toe with whoever and be able to make those body blows, be able to make those jabs and then those hooks, and then hopefully the haymaker, and win those fights. So now our communities are super based. We've got Christian conservatives everywhere, from the dog catcher all the way up to our Speaker of the House, our Lieutenant Governor, our Governor, everybody. So if you haven't checked it out, go look at trainingconservatives.org. It is not a waste of your time. We have free courses and free modules. I think you can get into a couple of them free. Check it out. We also have a candidate library that you can get into for free. It's important to read, guys. If you're not reading, you are not keeping your mind sharp. And there are a ton of books out there to help you not only get trained, but to keep you growing closer to Christ, which is extremely important. And the Bible is great. You should be in that all the time. But there are other things that you need to be aware of, including commentaries, and how does Christian values come into play with conservative values, and how do we match those and marry those up and then inject those into politics. So give that a try, trainingconservatives.org. I'll get off on that high horse. Thanks for letting me plug.
It's fine. No, it's important, man. And you know, this is just one thing that we're doing And like Matt said, it's
How does Christian values? Sorry, man. We're live, dude. This thing is.
I know it's fine, man. It's the beauty of live streaming. So, but yeah, no.
It is.
But yeah, no, like like Matt was saying, like get involved with this kind of stuff at your own pace. There's no pressure, like he said, and it's a lot of this is reading. It's free. But I mean, everyone across the country should be doing something to this degree. But yeah,
dude, it's surprising that we're not. Hussein, the CCTC is literally me going, dude. The Democrats are doing this on the national level. The Republicans aren't doing shit, man. They don't want. I feel at this point, I feel that the Republican Party, and especially the RNC, doesn't want this, which is crazy, because the DNC uses this as a fundraising arm, a money shuffling arm, embezzlement arm, and
well, I don't even know if it's a matter of I don't even know if it's a matter of I guess what it comes down to is the Republican Party and the DNC are the same thing. I mean, that's just what it is. So like they're playing the same game for the same ends. So I honestly believe it or not, I honestly believe that there are members of, and this is where some people on my side of the aisle may disagree to a certain degree. I honestly believe that there are some Republicans in leadership that genuinely think that what they're doing is the way, like this is how you do it. I think that they believe that. I think that they believe, quite frankly, that republicanism and being a Republican and being a Democrat merely means like kind of quibbling over minor economic and ideological differences, but basically nominally keeping the status quo the same way it is. That's what I really believe they think. I think they really believe it's just like, we're not really here to like change anything particularly. We're not really here to like do anything, actually impactful. It's really just a weird sort of like, it's a uniparty like maintenance of the same status quo.
Well, it has to be. Just look at the money that gets moved around. Look how everybody benefits.
And there's also another part too that no one talks about as well, because like everyone likes to, and I do believe that there is definitely a darker conspiratorial side to a lot of this stuff when you get to the DC level. Because I know people that work in DC, and many, if not all, the things that the average sort of like anti-establishment, sort of like middle American radical, as they were once called, thinks about like DC is true, and then some. Like the DC political world is disgusting. I've heard some horrifying stories, just what people have seen, just being auxiliary to it, and why they rejected it, and why they avoided it. But besides that kind of
no, but you're exactly right, Hussein. This is important, because what you're talking about is exactly why some of the so-called Christian conservative, Christian nationalists are now disappointing people.
Well, yeah. What I was going to say too is that despite that part, there's also an element too where a lot of these people is treated as a social club. So like, there's also a weird human error aspect to this, or a human flaw aspect to this, where a lot of people are just like, it's the narcissism and the sort of like want to like create a social network and social niche is kind of also a part of this. So there's a lot of different aspects to it. But yeah, I mean, like even the term Christian nationalism, like me and others kind of saw that term. We saw the writing on the wall of that term becoming co-opted by a lot of people. Just like MAGA, just like America First. Like a lot of people, because like first of all, like the term America First, right? Because people throw that term around a lot. Check out the 1940s America First conference, and everything that sort of the Republican Party and a lot of these sort of moderate to like MAGA light people complain about, what is not America First is literally what America First was in the 1940s. Yeah. Like the America First 1940s conference was against entering the Second World War. Like unironically, the America First conference, 1940 conference, was highly isolationist and highly jingoistic. It was not this sort of like populistic, moderate, civic nationalist, merely economic with a slight emphasis on borders, nonsensical BS. It was a very nationalistic, chauvinistic philosophy, and that's why like the America First movement of today, with regards to like Nicholas J. Fuentes and that sort of coalition, is the most indicative of the generational canon of America First. There's nothing America First, unfortunately, about what you see with like Carrie Lake, unfortunately, say to Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, these sort of characters. There's nothing America First about what they're doing. It's not remotely indicative or reflective of the legacy of sort of like that strain of thought. It's just, and so I think another part of it too is just people rebranding things, people not knowing their history, people jumping on band. There's a whole myriad of reasons why all this is happening. And it all comes back to squarely, essentially just people having the balls to say, we're done with this. We're done with this. We're done with this nonsense. We're done with this sort of decorum. We want a real country. We want a real right-wing party. And it's happening. And I couldn't be happier. So, I think it's, like I said, once again, I am completely and utterly happy with the events with regards to the Speaker House. I think it's perfect. It's extremely necessary. All the people that are being roasted right now, I think deserve it and then some. I couldn't be happier with it.
Well, good. And I would agree with you. I don't know the outcome of the speaker thing that's going on, right? But I do know that you're right in the sentiment that this is a disruptor and a good one, and that's a great place to start. It means that the gravity of war is shifting in politics right now, and at the highest levels, and so we have to continually to feed that particular gravity subset, and we're only going to do it if we can get our people elected. But again, we need training. We need training to get that done.
Well, even beyond that, I think we're only going to even beyond, because there's another thing we have to understand too. We make like, for example, you mentioned with the Speaker of the House. At the end of all this, Kevin McCarthy may not be elected, or he may be elected, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of all this, people are watching the process, right? So if he gets elected, it doesn't really matter because the message has already been sent. So like, obviously people should try to navigate the system the best they can. But I really want to emphasize to people, we can't think of this in electoral terms. We just can't. We can't, because like you said earlier, there's a very big chance that Kevin McCarthy will still become speaker, right? There's a very big chance in 2024 that Ron DeSantis might become the nominee, irrespective of who you think should be, because I think pretty much every sort of right-wing circle that I kind of float around or whatever, they all seem to not want Ron DeSantis. That's kind of one thing that we all agree on, but we have different views of, who should ascend to the leadership position. But, Ron DeSantis or a sort of like more swampy character might become the nominee for the GOP in 2024. And if that happens, it's not the end of it, so to speak. And that's what I mean. Like, it can't just be thought of in electoral terms. It needs to be thought of, we're not here to win the election because the election is silly. We're here to send a message to the people that run this shit, basically, pardon my vulgarity. We're here to send a message to them to say that there is a rumbling, unstoppable swell of a reactionary political, we'll say, momentum and people who are just rejecting you and that are not playing your game any longer, right? Because like Trump in 2015 did not win. He did not run knowing he was going to win. And there's some people who are playing, I've heard some very weird conspiracy theories that he was propped up by the deep, double super deep state, whatever.
Double super deep state. That's awesome. Where are those dudes?
I've heard some theories. I mean, there is some truth that Trump definitely was backed by sort of he did have, via the Zionist lobby, he did have a lot of internationalist sort of like backing favorability in 2015. That's true. But I don't believe that he was somehow like handpicked by like some shadowy group to win 2016. I don't believe that. But either way, like nothing indicates to me that Trump ran his 2015/2016 campaign knowing that he was going to win, period. That's not what that does. Nothing that he did or said speaks to that to me. It seems that he ran knowing full well that he was most likely going to lose, and he just didn't care. He's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to steamroll everyone rhetorically. I'm here to make a message. I'm here to make a message, win or lose, and I'm going to send that message. I think that for those of you out there who still really love the MAGA movement and still kind of disagree with people like me who are saying that MAGA is dead, because it very much is, but that you might disagree. Well, if you still believe that, I would implore you all to go back to the energy of 2015 and remember 2015 Trump, and remember that energy of this is not about winning the elections. It's about disrupting the corrupt system. And I think if we take that message, we'll get a lot more traction, as opposed to if we're trying to scheme our way out of this and try to play 40 chess with a system that is rigged beyond ways that we can even comprehend, quite frankly. So
Right.
I think
they've got the 6D rig already in, and we're trying to play 4D chess. So.
Yeah, and it's like we don't have to do that. Like I think there's another thing too. Like it
no,
is.
We don't.
We don't have to do it. We don't have to do it.
It's
It's much more powerful to people, and I've noticed this personally in my last few months. I've been interacting, just really in general. People respond to you better when you're freaking honest and you tell the truth, and you're like, "This is what I am. This is who I am. This is what I'm about, and I'm not going away." And that's what you do. And that's what you do. And that's what you have to do. And it doesn't require some master scheme. So
Right.
I think we stick with honesty and boldness. We'll be fine. we will be fine.
We've got to always factor in the most important part of this equation, which is what is God's plan for us, right? You and I and everybody listening and anybody who cares, we are all part of the operations in the kingdom. So, you and I, we try our best to seek out God's, divine inspiration, his plans for us and for others and for politics. But ultimately, politics is a mountain in his kingdom, right?
Yeah.
And I think our viewer also needs to keep that into focus and remember that, it ultimately, we've got one mission, and that's to carry out God's work.
Yeah. There's a lot of folks out there who are familiar with the phrase "trust the plan," and anyone, that's referring to God's plan. By the way, people are saying that they are referring to God's plan, whether they know it or not. That's where that meme came from. That's where that phrase came from. It's God's plan. Like, trust the plan. It's not the MAGA plan. It's not the political plan. It's not the whatever coalition plan you want. It's trust Christ's plan. Trust God's plan. Mm-hmm. And that's really it. And if we do that, we'll be fine. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. I think that it's gonna suck.
but see, here's what we also have to put in there, because trust the plan. I think a lot of people, especially conservatives, take that as I can sit back and do nothing because I'm just going to trust the plan, right?
Yeah.
And it's the complete opposite. Trust the plan doesn't mean you get to sit on your ass and God does everything for you. It means that you got to partner up with him and you actually have to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You got to get involved. You got to get into politics. You get find where God's calling you to, and you got to get in there.
Yeah.
And you got to actually do the work.
Yeah, exactly. And because what you're basically describing is what happened with QAnon. That's how QAnon was born. I've recently met a lot of people who used to be part of that organization or whatever, that phenomenon, and they told me like how it was being a part of it and then realizing it was ridiculous and leaving behind. So it's been a very fascinating thing to observe. But yeah, I'd say you get the QAnon stuff where this whole weird, like almost like tea leaf reading kind of like nonsense where no matter what people do, no matter what happens to people, these people always just will say like, no, it's this plan will still happen, even if like everything they're saying is falling apart. Like, no, it's actually part of this deeper plan. Yeah. So yeah, just find out where you shine, man. I posted via TFP like on New Year's Eve. It's or New Year's Day. It was something to the effect of like, we're basically we're gonna see a lot of hardship as Christians and political dissidents, and it's time to pray, persevere, build, and develop. Like we have to. It's not just political. I would say it's do something right now that's positive. And I'm trying to do it myself, personal life, and even here with content. I'm trying to move. My work will still have a political bend to it, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to move past that because, like Matt said earlier, politics is temporal. It's one part of the puzzle. And if we don't have like communities and culture and art and things that actually matter and that animate people, then it doesn't matter. So like, you don't even necessarily have to get involved in politics. Just get involved with the culture, get involved in the community. Just do something productive and positive to bring something to the table. And
in person if you can.
Yeah.
2023 is like, it is our opportunity to reclaim all these things that were just taken from us because of COVID. Like nobody should have ever have been, but we definitely shouldn't now be scared of meeting up with people, especially like-minded people, and then engaging with them as a community and building those communities, inviting more people into these communities in the real world, in real life, and then using our digital overlays to maximize those opportunities, man. Like we got part of the subversion was to keep us separated. And that is a direct attack on the body of Christ. It
Yeah.
literally is, right? Where two or more gather, there I am. Well, if you're not allowing people to gather, you're removing the there I am component to God's work. And we've got to get back. And this is partially why, like, because of what's going on at Twitter and all these Twitter spaces you're in, like, what I'm watching is I'm watching this cyclone of community building, and it is occurring fast, man.
Yeah.
Like, which is great. That's what we need. But we've
Yeah,
got
no, yeah,
to.
there's the Twitter spaces. There's something there that me and others are trying to tap into, and it's really fascinating to observe. It's great. I never thought that Twitter would actually have a purpose, let alone a purpose that was this like profound. Like it really, like the Twitter spaces have kind of come into what's happening in the Twitter space, and it really is one of the unintended or unforeseen benefits of Elon taking power with regard to it. I don't like Elon, nor do I trust him. But once again, he's I view him as a tool as opposed to like an ally of any kind. But in the wake of him taking power, he has literally made Twitter more free speech than like YouTube. Like you can say more controversial things on Twitter right now as it currently stands in YouTube, which is to say that is very crazy. Yeah. So like
We haven't been pulled down off of Twitter yet. I guarantee you're about to get flagged with YouTube, but
maybe. Yeah, who knows? Well, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. YouTube makes more sense, but I mean, we'll see. But yeah, definitely with Twitter, like people, like we've been able to, like literally what's happening on Twitter is the people are usually getting flagged for like it's weird. If you like swear at someone, like if you like angrily say like F you to people like in threads or whatever, then they get suspended, like there's some people who it's really like less to do with like the content of the speech and more about how you're saying
you say it than how
yeah,
you say
which is
it.
you know what? I'm fine with that, to a certain degree. But
Sure.
the Twitter spaces have been really interesting and really fun and really productive. And like you said, yeah, there's definitely so I kind of laid it out with like two gentlemen in like it's a few Twitter spaces ago, and we were talking about like what the future holds for 23. And I sort of kind of like surmised what I felt were the sort of characters of the last 2 years. So like 2021 was the era of doomer. It was the doomer era. It was alcoholism. It was depression. Everyone was just coming out of lockdown. So they just wanted to like feel something again. But there was still that kind of sense of dread. It was post BLM riots, whether you were at work, whether you were at, a social event, whether you were like obviously watching the news, everything was just dark and depressing and sad. And then 2022 was the era of cope. Everyone was pretty much understanding that the world was just like going to hell, but everyone wanted to pretend like the past 3 years prior did not happen. They wanted to pretend that, the systematic persecution of Trump supporters wasn't occurring. They wanted to pretend like the balkanization of the political violence wasn't occurring. And the Republican Party was particularly involved in this cope where like they try to treat them, they really look at the midterms like another midterm. They're like, oh, there's just another midterms, man. Like they didn't take like the lack of gravitas they assigned to the midterms of 2022 was pathetic. Like it was insane how they didn't see how extremely important it was to really take that 2022 seriously, and they just didn't do it. And that was kind of vibe I got from 2022, which is like everything's going to hell, everything's kind of silly, but we're not going to really talk about it. We're going to pretend like it's okay. This was also very indicative with like a lot of like remakes. Like 2022 was like a height of like remake and reboot with regards to various franchises. But what I think 23 will be personally is sort of like the era of exploration, right? I think that people are at a point of like, okay, we've done all this, we've done all these different things, and things have not gotten better. So what else is there? And I'm seeing that manifest in particular with Twitter Spaces. I'm seeing it manifest with the national conversation, with people investigating very taboo new conversation. I mean, like, for example, the Ye phenomenon. How do you feel about that? Obviously, I am a Ye 24 supporter. period, end of discussion. But the A conversation is really indicative of that, where like it's a that conversation, that phenomenon is bringing things to the fore that have never been discussed before. And so I think that's going to be what's going to define 23. It's going to be it's going to be chaotic but necessary, much like 2015. It's going to be the era of exploration, the era of intellectual experimentation. People are going to start being like, I want something different. They're going to have their biases, they're going to have their camps, they're going to have their little niche communities, but they're going to try to like step outside of those niche communities, those camps. I think those who actually care about going someplace with society, and they're going to be like, we need to do something, like something needs to change. And I'm kind of open to whatever that might be. And so I think it's pretty exciting. I'm anxious to see what that looks like. If there will be tumultuous, sort of like political and socio-political sort of dynamics that will come our way. But all in all, it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm pretty excited about it. So a lot is ahead of us that we can't predict. And I think that's great because unpredictable, unforeseeable sort of chaos is always potential. And if people are smart with their potential, they can really, really will in and manifest a lot of great things for themselves. So,
well, yeah. we'll put the Hussein Hill prophetic stamp on that one. Bink, right? Send it for 23.
Let's go.
All right, guys. Well, we've hit the hour mark. Thank you so much for watching us. I know that you probably have a lot of other things to do with your life, but we try to make this, especially the live show, a little interesting at least, and talk about things that you're not going to hear anywhere else. You might hear about the speaker and stuff like that, but we try to bring a conversation to you that is not filtered through the lenses of the majority of things that you're probably going to hear. And if you've watched any of our stuff, we talk about whatever we want. And some of the things we talk about will trigger your cognitive dissonance and the programming you have, which is a great thing.
I exist to trigger your cognitive dissonance and the program. That's my literal existence.
Well, it's important. That's part of people stepping out of their norms, right? Everybody, there's two ways you get somewhere. Either you're pushed or you're pulled. We're here to provide both. We'll pull you out of the camp or we'll push you out of the camp, right? So with that being said, thanks Hussein for jumping on. If you haven't already, guys, check out purebloodpatriotusa.com. That is our show sponsor. It is our Christian conservative lifestyle swag company where you can pick up shirts and all sorts of cool stuff to show who you are, what you're about, and who you support, which is us and the Christian conservative movement. And all that money goes straight into paying for the TFP infrastructure because this stuff's not cheap. I know we had a little glitch today. We did pay our bills, so we're good, but we could always use some more support to make sure that we can continue to pay the bills and keep the show lights on.
Also,
go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm going to start doing this every time we do a live stream. So yeah, for me, follow me here on Twitter at Hill_Hussein, which is Hussein Hill, the Narrow Assassin. Please follow me. Go to my bio, see the Linktree link there. You'll have all my platforms. My main channel is on YouTube. I'm on Rumble, BitChute. I'm also on Minds, Gab, Getter, and Truth Social. I'm also on Telegram. I have a personal Hussein Hill, the real Hussein Hill, a Telegram account, and I also have the Narrow Assassin, a Telegram account, and so the Federalist Press has a Telegram account. So please go and follow me on all those platforms and follow us on Telegram and other platforms that we have in our bio on the TFP main page here on Twitter, and support us, share the content. We can't do any of this stuff without you guys. It's greatly appreciated, seriously.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's very appreciated. And please, if you haven't checked it out, go watch The Narrative Assassin. These are great shows. Hussein really digs into some great content. He covers a lot of great content, and
I do. It's an awesome show.
You do, man. You really do. And that's why, we also are syndicating your show on the Federalist Press.
Let's go.
So if
Let's go.
If you go to thefederalistpress.org and then you go to TFP shows, whose Narrative Assassin is one of the shows that we're syndicating. Speaking of syndicated shows, we are also now syndicating a show out of Onslow County. You're That Guy. This is a really, really cool show, guys. If you're in the Onslow County area, which is on the coast of North Carolina, and it applies to North Carolina in general. But if you're watching that, please go watch it. That's all I got to say. You're That Guy. It's a great show. I personally know one of the gentlemen who is heading up that show. And it is worth a listen to, just like Narrative Assassin. We want to provide the TFP. We want to provide you great content. If you're a content creator out there in North Carolina and you're a conservative Christian, or you have something that we think is worthy of putting on this platform to show to other people, send it our way. We want to know about it. We'll review it. We'll talk to you. We'll vet it. We'll get it up there. And it's important because this is what the TFP is designed for. It's to give you not only a voice, but a platform to jump off of. And there's a lot of people, and Hussein can back me on this, there's a lot of people in North Carolina who are doing things, but just haven't got the traction that they need, or nobody wants to back their play because they say things that nobody else wants to touch.
Well, that too, but there's also a reality to that. I think a lot of there's also sort of it's a dual-edged sword. A lot of people in North Carolina, it's a lot of people in there's a lot of content creators in North Carolina who are just not organizing. They know about each other. They're just kind of doing their own siloed thing, and you know, this kind of goes back to the whole critique on decentralization. Decentralization works in your personal life, in your social life as a human being. But when it comes to political and cultural movements, it's nonsensical in the sense of you need to coalesce with other people of like minds. You need to do it. So people out there who are in the North Carolina area, and me and Matt Dooley have spoken about this, there's a possibility in the future that we will start to extend a lot of our stuff beyond the borders of North Carolina. But right now we want to build the infrastructure here in North Carolina when it comes to the media infrastructure and the cultural infrastructure. So there's people out there that the TFP promotes their content here on Twitter. But yeah, anyone out there in the North Carolina area, like, you know, we're not here to kind of, you know, take your work and profit off it. We want to promote you as a content creator. You know, basically it's a win-win for you. You know, we're just going to be a free avenue essentially just to help, you know, promulgate your content and your message out there. So also too, for those of you guys who do follow my work, who are watching this, I do apologize that it's been 3 weeks since my last episode. Obviously, with this new schedule with weekly streams for this, that's still taking some time up. I'm also doing a lot of other things on the side professionally. But I'm going to try to get an episode released between really now and like the beginning of next week. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, so with the more stuff I put on my plate here, it's going to be a little more sparse. But once again, just stay tuned for that content, guys. But yeah, if you are North Carolina bound, you're a content creator, just feel free to reach out to us. I'll probably be reaching out to some people in the next few weeks or few days to come. We just want to promote people, build some sort of a local media, you know, movement, but also infrastructure, and have a loose sort of like network of people that are all North Carolinians. They all love Christ. They may not walk in lockstep with each other ideologically. But we're all trying to fight for a better nation, for a nation that reveres and exalts Christ in one way or another. So yeah.
Send that info to the link below, the Federalist Press at proton.me. And we want stories and tips too. If you got a tip or a story of something going on in North Carolina, send it our way. We want to know. We want to cover this stuff. We want to write articles about it. And Hussein's right. If you like the shows that we syndicate, TFP doesn't make any money off the traffic because we syndicate directly from your video. Like You're That Guy, those videos are syndicated straight from Rumble. Every view that they get goes straight to them. Every single penny, every single dollar, if they make anything, will go straight to them, not to us, which is how we want it, right? You're out there sweating, and I get it. It's kind of, you know, at first it's scary to like get into the world of media, and you want, like, how do I even create content? How do I create podcasts? How do I make money? Whatever your goal is, right? That's tough. And we want to be that olive branch where you can say, you know what, the TFP will house my stuff. I can lean on them. They can teach me, help support us, push the stuff, and create these networks in North Carolina that Hussein's talking about. So send that information down to the Federalist Press at proton.me. It's down below. Copy it, send it over. We appreciate you watching, guys. We know we went a little bit over our hour time, but we had good stuff to clean up the end of the show with. Hussein, thanks for being a part of this, buddy. I really appreciate what you're contributing to this. I think that it's important that we continue to push forward. I can't wait till next Thursday's show. We need to start making some content together that's not live on certain topics, because we got a lot of topics we can make videos on. But we'll get there.
Yeah. I'm definitely open to that. I like the live stream stuff. I'm very glad to work with you, buddy. Love you too, friend. Love you, brother in Christ. It's always great. But yeah, no, I mean, I love the live stream stuff. It's fun. It's
It
good.
is. Live stream's fun, man. You get to see, it's raw. You get to see everything, which is cool.
Yeah. And it helps us hone our skills as presenters and speakers and commentators. You know, it definitely it helps sharpen our skill set, helps flesh out our ideas, and it's just enjoyable. I like it. You know, it's a lot more freedom than the pre-recorded stuff. So yeah.
And if you want to get on the show, because we're looking for people to bring onto the live show, text the number below. You can also, again, send a email to the Federalist Press at proton.me. We are looking for people to come on the show with us and talk about these things and contribute, especially if you're in North Carolina. We definitely want to hear from you if you're in North Carolina. So send that information in. With that being said, I'm good for tonight, buddy. You good?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for watching. We will see you next Thursday at 6 p.m. EST on the Federalist Press live stream or the TFP live stream. And with that, remember, America first, kingdom always.
God bless, guys. Have a great night.
Yeah.